Live from Aspen, Colorado, this is Aspen Ideas Digital.
Good morning and welcome back to Aspen Ideas Digital. It's day 3 and I'm your host, Zincle Esamoah, reporter with NBC News Now. And I'm so thrilled to get to guide you through the really insightful and provocative conversations we have going on this week. As you probably remember, yesterday we had a powerful afternoon of conversation with a lot of thought leaders in our country. That includes former Secretary of Education, Arne Duncan, who moderated a really moving discussion around gun violence and education in the country. We also heard from White House Infrastructure Coordinator Mitch Landrieu, Senator Rob Portman, and The Atlantic's Jeffrey Goldberg, NPR's Mary Louise Kelly, and renowned journalist, you may know her name, Katie Couric. So really a powerful lineup. And if you didn't get to watch, you should go back and click through. There was also a special message from the front lines of the Russian invasion in Ukraine from Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, interviewed by my colleague, Chief Foreign Correspondent Richard Engel. If you missed that, you can find it under the past sessions in our homepage. That's past sessions in our homepage. Again, really compelling content. So if you missed it, you should absolutely tune in. So, what do we got going on today? Let me tell you about it. To kick us off, we're going to talk about health and beauty. So as I said it, if you haven't done your skincare yet this morning, you may want to get on it. Grab your retinol, take your collagen, drink your water, all that stuff, because we got a great conversation with editor-in-chief of Allure. Her name is Jessica Krull, and we had a great conversation around her work and her hopes for the industry. Welcome to Aspen Ideas Digital. I'm your host, Zincle Esamoah, NBC News Now reporter, and I am joined by Allure's EIC, Jessica Krull. We're going to have a really great conversation around beauty and inclusivity, but first, I need to give her a proper introduction. So, Jessica Krull is the editor-in-chief of Allure, where she leads multi-platform editorial, and she spearheaded the launch of the Melanin Edit, which we will have to talk about. There's a lot of melanin happening right here, right now. We love that. And previously, she was at Refinery 29, Self, and Pop Sugar. So thank you for being here. Outfit appreciation.
Thank you for having me. I mean, I appreciate your outfit.
Look, can we talk about it?
I mean, we had a moment when I first came in. I was like, respect.
Look, game recognized game.
Hey,
okay. So I want to just jump in. You've been in this industry for about a decade.
Yeah.
So how have you seen COVID change how we're all thinking about beauty and health?
Well, I think the element of beauty and health, that's self-care, right? There's a definite element to when you wash your face, when you do your hair, there's an element of self-care to that. Yeah. And I think that we are even more emphasizing that and more emphasizing the wellness portion of the beauty industry. Every day there are new things coming out that are geared toward this overall self-care. And I think it's going to continue in that fashion. I also think so many people, when they were away from their services, so you couldn't go to the salon, you couldn't go to the nail shop.
I felt that.
You had to do your own hair. People were, discovering themselves in a new way. So we really saw a really kind of boom in at-home treatments, people getting devices, people doing their nails again. But then on the flip side, I think we also realized how important those people in our life, those providers, the hairstylists, and how nice it is to go to a salon and really absorb the culture that salons have. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. I think for half of the population, they were like, well, look, I'm not going to go to the salon anymore because during the pandemic, I learned how to XYZ.
Do my hair,
dye my hair, braid my hair, straighten my hair.
Shave my hair.
Exactly. We all picked up new skills. And then I think on the other side, we're like, whew, I will never leave my stylist again because she was so essential to how I like to present myself. And so I think we're learning so much. And I think one thing that came out of it is there are a lot of new funds and things of that nature to support small business owners, which I think is so essential. A lot of people don't realize that salons, while they're not salon owners, while they're not considered essential workers, they live paycheck to paycheck. They're so reliant on their customer base to pay for rent and things like that. And so I'm really happy for a lot of the initiatives that came out to support that community.
And of course, also in the last few years, we saw the George Floyd protests and really the renaissance that came out of that horrific incident. But I think it made a lot of industries think about intersectionality and inclusivity. And it struck me that in your initial letter to the editor, or excuse me, as editor-in-chief, you said the need for realism has never been more acute than it is today, which I thought was really good, because like I grew up reading those magazines where it's like no one looked like me, and when they didn't have my hair texture, all of that. So how are you bringing inclusivity to Allure, especially in this context that we're in, where people are a lot more attentive to, does this represent everyone?
Yeah, I think for me, it's about tackling a community as a whole, right? So for example, we did a global beauty issue. We do it every year.
Oh, cool.
And we had Deepika Padukone on our cover, who's an amazing Bollywood actress. And we had her on the cover because we wanted to highlight, South Asian beauty. And so we didn't just stop at putting her on the cover. The entire center of the book was devoted to that culture. So we had a story on kohl eyeliner and the history of it and why it's banned in the US. We had a story all around curly hair, South Asian women with curly hair. We just really devoted basically, 30 pages in the issue to this culture. And I think when I look back, that's how I would have wanted to be seen. I think so much of how the industry has handled inclusivity prior to this has been like, oh, let's get a black model in here. Let's okay, we got one with natural hair, let's do that. But they're not talking about the way that we practice beauty, the culture behind our beauty. And so when I think of inclusivity and how we bring that to Allure, I'm always stopping to think, are we representing this community from a 360-degree perspective, versus just the outer appearance?
Not just tokenizing.
Yes, I mean, it's about going a lot deeper. And our June-July issue was devoted to the Melanin edit. And so we
Tell me more.
Yeah, we had Chloe Bailey on the cover, and Michaela Angela Davis came on to be my guest editor. And it was just an opportunity for us to go deep on the community. We had a whole story. Xochitl Gonzalez, who's a New York Times bestselling author of Olga Dies Dreaming, she wrote an essay about bodegas. And it was just, there's so much more than we can do besides putting diverse colored faces and hair types in the magazine.
Right, that's just the beginning.
That's just the beginning. And so for me, it's about exploring this other level of diversity, this level of diversity of experience that is really kind of giving me life right now.
What do you think the health, beauty, the industry that you are in gets wrong still?
I think the way that a lot of brands look at diversity, it's one at a time, right? So after the George Floyd murder was happening and that was so much in the news, the focus was on Black people, right? It's like, we're gonna put all our coins into the Black people basket and we're gonna support that. And then, stop Asian hate.
Yeah.
We're putting all our coins into the Asian basket. And now all I hear is, we want to reach Latinx. And it's like, well, like you said, you're not looking at the intersectionality of these communities.
Right.
And I think that was so important for us when we launched the Melanin edit, is that we're talking about highly melanated people, period, right? That could mean someone who's Southeast Asian. That could mean someone who's Colombian.
Yeah.
That could mean someone who's Black American, right? It could be someone Caribbean. It could be any of those things, but we all have a shared experience. And I think now we're getting to a point of, multiculturalism where we all have similar perspectives because the world has painted us with a broad stroke brush. But if we all band together, then we have so much more power. And so I think the beauty industry still doesn't recognize that intersectionality between cultures.
Yeah, that it's more than surface. And that was the next thing I wanted to ask you about, because we've talked a bit about sort of the external, right? The people you're putting on the front pages or who are maybe guest editors. But what about those making the content? How are you, as editor-in-chief of a major magazine that I grew up flipping through, like making sure those from the lowest positions, though there's none that's low, I should say most entry-level positions, pardon me, from the most entry-level positions to the most senior like yourself, represent the large swaths of beauty and health that do exist.
Yeah, I'm so proud that our staff is very diverse. Like, I think for me, being one of the only for so long in this industry, it's so important that we pull up others and allow them to have great careers. And I think no publication can really exist at this time without having a newsroom with those diverse perspectives. You know, I always say one thing I ask in every interview is, what is your passion?
To those you're interviewing.
To those I'm interviewing, right? And so what I'm looking for there is, what do you care about beyond just this job? Because they're going to bring that into our newsroom, and it's going to make our content so much more rich. And so I think when I look at my staff, we have people who run the gamut, you know, Afro-Latinas, we have, you know, white passing Latinas, and they would say that about themselves. You know, we have Asian American women. We just have everything combined in our staff.
Yeah.
And I understand that I'm not an expert at what they know. And so I'm often pulling people into a room and being like, hey, what's going on? You know? I remember at one point for the Melanin edit, we wanted to do a digital cover with, you know, an Afro-Latina. And I was like, I am not aware. So I pulled in one of my team members and she gave me a full list. I was like, great.
Wow.
And she was more junior on the team.
Right.
And I think for me, it's about creating that ecosystem where everyone, my assistant to my executive editor, can step into a room and put their ideas out there and know that they're being heard. I think some of our best stories and columns come from those personal experiences that they feel comfortable exploring in the pages of Allure.
And that requires a certain degree of humility from yourself as the EIC, which is pretty impressive.
I don't know. I'm like, I don't know. Ask somebody else.
And that's okay to say. It's okay to say, I don't know, ask somebody else.
Well, I wish so many other people would have said, I don't know, prior to this. You know, I wish so many people prior to me would have said, you know, I don't know much about Black culture. Maybe I should ask the Black assistant in the room.
Yeah.
So I would have had that space to speak up for myself and felt more comfortable. But the confidence I have now has come through time.
Yeah.
You know, and I would only say in the last 3 years have I felt comfortable enough to be like, Black people ain't gonna like that. You know, just not, you know, some Black people might. I don't want to paint us all with a broad brush.
Right, not a monolith.
But like, in general,
yes, red flag.
I don't like it, and I think we shouldn't do that.
I love it. So I want to wrap with two questions.
Yeah.
One a little more trivial than the other, but maybe not. As someone who's been in this industry for a long time, your ultimate health, beauty, fashion hack. I'm asking slightly selfishly, but also for those watching, because I'm sure they'll want to know.
Yeah, so it depends on what you want. Do you want the like, what do I do to stay zen?
Ooh.
Or do you want the, what do I do to keep this looking like this?
Oh, both. I want both.
Okay, you want both. Okay, so what I do to keep zen, sleeping pills. Okay, I cannot, prescription. Look, this is a high stress job. I fully acknowledge that. And I would be nothing without the team of people that it takes to keep me on the, on the straight and narrow. You know, therapy, I had therapy this morning. It was great. Cried it out, came,
I love it.
Moderated the panel.
That's
you know,
so good.
like,
yes.
I have an executive coach, I have a psychiatrist, and I have friends in a group chat. I have my mama that I call all the time. So I think one thing that I try to tell people, like being a Black woman in this space, being one of the very few editor-in-chiefs in this time of color, it's hard. And there are days that I'm stressed, and I need all those things to help me function and help me do it at my highest capacity. And that's okay.
Yeah.
And I think we have to normalize the stress. Like I have stress dreams. Like love her, she's the great mentor, but Anna Wood's my boss. I have stress dreams. Okay? Like it gets serious. Like I'm what?
Have you ever gotten the call and you're like,
oh yeah, there's definitely calls.
I would sweat.
Yeah. One time I butt down Anna Wood's really not fun. Luckily she didn't answer, but it was a moment where I was like, this is it. I'm gonna be
this
done
is
for.
my end.
It was a quick run. It was a good 3-week run as editor-in-chief. No, she's great. No, she really is a great mentor. But like I have so much stress and I need sleeping pills and Lexapro to help me get through it. And I think we should normalize that. You know, we talk so much about, you know, boss, she's a boss, she's a boss. I don't sleep, you know, and
she's a human.
She's a human, right, right. So I think that's what I do to stay zen, if you call it that.
Yes.
And then what I do for all of
to
this.
stay beat, to stay, can we just look.
I don't work out. I think for me, I'm all about skincare. I am a very big fan of chemical exfoliants.
Oh, okay.
So Kate Somerville has a liquid overnight serum that I use.
Okay.
I use retinol.
Need to take some notes.
Yeah, take some notes. Those are things, and sunscreen every day.
Yes.
Like, I think a lot of people think because we have melanin, we're protected. Black girl sunscreen, check it out.
Yes.
I think that's some of the things that I do every day. And I also, just like my coworkers, get a little filler, get a little Botox. I have a great Black dermatologist, Dr. Michelle Henry, who like takes care of it.
lots of notes.
Right,
Look.
because like I said, I don't sleep, so I got like dark circles that are genetic, and she helps me take care of that. Microblading. Look, I do the whole suite of things.
I love it.
So those are my secrets.
Thank
Not really
you.
secret because I'm.
Well, now
willing
you
to tell
just told
anyone.
us. Thank you. We got the tea. So I want to end by asking, 10 years from now, you open Allure magazine. What do you hope to see?
I hope to see. Ooh, wow, that's a hard one. I think for me, what I hope to see is, more people who we would consider real women. Like, I hate to use that term, but still this industry is very much so based on models, right? I was literally just on my phone talking about models for next shoot. And while their model casting has gotten more diverse, like the only reason you see people who look exactly like me, 5'2", short, curvy, is because I'm the editor-in-chief, so I get my photo in the front, but it's very rare that we see those people in magazines in that way. It's still very much so like kind of put towards the aspirational.
Yeah.
Like even when you see plus models, they're like perfectly proportioned.
Yes, I have noticed that. Yes.
Yeah, so I think we still have some room to grow in that aspect. I also, on my panel that I just moderated, Christy Brinkley said something. She was like, I wish there were more people in magazines that were celebrated for their accomplishments, right? I run a beauty magazine, which means, at least in the back, we just have some beautiful pictures of, makeup things and hair things. And we need that for, to celebrate the artists in our industry, right? But I also think what we've done to celebrate people's minds and their hearts and the work that they're doing is also very important. And so I think we want to continue to do that and open it up beyond just designers and things like that and celebrate people who are doing work in different industries.
Yeah.
And so I think that's really kind of something I hope to see.
Beauty on the inside, too.
Yeah.
Putting that on the pages.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, thank you so much, Jessica,
Thank you for having
this
me.
conversation.
Yeah.
And thank you all for tuning in. I hope you're inspired and you took some notes. I know I did. And we'll see you later. Thank you, Jessica, for that insightful and very fun conversation. Now let's get to the schedule for the rest of the day. We've got a lot of things in store, starting at 10 a.m. Mountain Time with a conversation about the Biden administration's plans to get the country to carbon net zero. That conversation will feature the National Climate Advisor for the White House, Gina McCarthy, EPA Administrator Michael Reagan, and the Times reporter Justin Warland. Then we join Christo Grazev, Chris Krebs, Yulia Tichkivska, and Vivian Schiller at 11:15 Mountain Time, that's 11:15 a.m. Mountain Time, on how propaganda and disinformation shapes the narrative of war abroad, especially relevant right now as we're seeing Russia's invasion in Ukraine. Then at 12:30 p.m. Mountain Time, we will bring our dialogue back here right to the United States, where we discuss our economy and inflation. If you are an American who spends money, which is basically all of us, you're probably feeling the pain in your wallet. So we're going to dive in to what that means and ask the question that I think everyone wants to know the answer to, which is how much worse can it get? We will be joined by experts Ellen McGirt, Gregory Dacco, Corinne Kimbrough, and Stephen Ratner for this really complex and important conversation. Then at 1:30 p.m. Mountain Time, do not miss our conversation with author Zoe Chance in her workshop titled Influence is Your Superpower. Super cool, where you will learn about how confidence is key to your influence. Confidence key to your influence. I really like that. I hope to catch that one too. Then at 3:15 p.m. Mountain Time, 3:15, we have Rachel Romer Carlson, CEO of Guild of Education, who will talk to Carolyn Childers about how we can engage and upskill and empower generations of workers. So that real intergenerational work that we love to learn about and talk about. Then at 4:30 p.m. Mountain Time, we have a must-not-miss tribute to a big friend of the Aspen Institute and late trustee, former Secretary of State Madeleine Albright. Join us for a conversation with Secretary Hillary Rodham Clinton, Stephen Hadley, and my colleague Yamiche Alcindor, PBS NewsHour anchor and correspondent at NBC News, as they reflect on the legacy of Secretary Albright. Then finally, and that's a lot of things to get through today, but it's gonna be good, so bring your notepads, bring your coffee. We have David Brooks, who will close out the day with a presentation on how to build trust in the age of digital trust. How to build trust in the age of digital trust. That's set for 7 p.m. Mountain Time, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. So that's a lot of planning, a lot of calendaring, but I trust you'll be able to keep up, and you can always look back at the website if you want to go and see what specific times these different conversations are happening. But before we close out and look ahead for the rest of the day, I want us to check out a really important interview between Elena Wood, founder of The Garbage Queen, and Aspen Ideas' very own Natalie Schultz. They're going to talk about Tick-Tock. Yes, Tick-Tock. We love the dances, we love the transitions, we love the music, but they're going to take a different spin. They're going to talk about Tick-Tock and climate anxiety. Let's take a listen.
Hi everyone, I'm Natalie Schultz. I work here at the Institute, and I'm here with Elena Wood, who is a sustainability scientist and a climate communicator who has built a community on Tick-Tock to spread a more positive message to young people and kind of combat feelings of eco-doom and eco-anxiety. So you might know her because her videos have gone viral on Tick-Tock a few times, kind of debunking really scary climate articles, and she also has this amazing series called Good Climate News on her channel. So Elena, I'm so excited you're here at the Ideas Festival. So you started out as a scientist, and then you kind of took to Tick-Tock as your platform to communicate your message and kind of build a community with young people. So what do you think is unique about Tick-Tock as a platform that has allowed you to amplify this message?
So Tick-Tock feels very personal. It almost feels like we're having a conversation just like this when you're holding up your phone versus YouTube or Instagram or Twitter, which feels very like a big production instead of a very short, 30, 60-second video. And I think because of that, people absorb the message a lot better because it's just like we're having a conversation versus traditionally like being taught by a teacher. It's not as boring as being in the classroom.
Totally. I mean, I think I discovered your TikToks like scrolling through like in my bed or something, and it was kind of like disarming just to have someone, my age and kind of talking to me like a peer and kind of making me feel better, specifically about an issue that's so scary like the climate crisis. So I totally relate to that, and that's kind of how I've experienced TikTok as well. So what do you think, kind of getting more to like what you do on TikTok, which is climate communication, what do you think that news organizations or the media in general gets wrong when they're communicating to young people about the climate crisis?
So the number one thing they get wrong is only focusing on the issues. So about 97% of news about the climate crisis is about the issues. So only 3% is about the solutions. And because young people have grown up only ever hearing about the climate crisis, only ever hearing about how bad it is, it's no wonder it's starting to freak them out if they never hear about anything positive. I mean, the climate crisis isn't positive by any means, but fixing it is.
Right, and there are so many cool things that are happening around the world, which is why it's so cool that you have the Good Climate News series that is actually highlighting those kinds of things and kind of taking away the narrative off of these really, really terrible kind of catastrophe headlines that we see. So that's really, really awesome. And, I think that, we're talking to our digital audience. I think that includes a lot of young people. And I think that we're all kind of, as young people, looking for like advice on how to navigate the news outlets and how to like do our part in the climate crisis. So what is your number one piece of advice for a young person who's receiving this climate news? How do you think that they can change their feed or just where they're getting their news to make it kind of like to put them into action?
So my number one suggestion is to look through every single account you follow if it has something to do with the climate. And if videos from that account freak you out, just hit unfollow. And then when you're scrolling through your For You page, your Instagram, whatever, and you see something that freaks you out, at least on TikTok, you can click not interested. So you can kind of personalize your feed that way.
Right.
But if you're still noticing, you're freaking out hearing about climate change, because let's be real, we hear about it every single day now in the news, just unplug.
Right.
Just take some time. I really find that getting out in nature, even if it's just on my back porch and just sitting there watching the birds, watching my cat trying to eat the birds, is really helpful, just to kind of reset and then go back into it when you're in a good headspace.
That is so lovely, and it reorients us to the world that we're living in and connection with nature and everything like that, and reminds us to find people like you who have really awesome messages and are promoting the kind of good stories and everything like that. So lastly, I want you're on TikTok, shout out some of your favorite TikTokers. Who should we be following? Let us know.
So I co-founded an organization called Tick-Tock. We are a collective of environmentalists. Some of us are scientists like myself. Some of us are activists, students, business owners, people who are just passionate about sustainability. So follow them, because there's 19 of us.
Awesome.
But I would say if you want to learn more about science in general, follow Hank Green.
Awesome.
A lot of young people know who that is. If you don't, go check out Hank Green. He's on all of the social media channels. And another great environmental account to follow would be Intersectional Environmentalists. They are on TikTok, Instagram, you name it.
Thank you so much, Elena. Those are some great accounts to follow. I think that we all know who we should get on TikTok and follow. And also, make sure you go check out Elena Wood at The Garbage Queen on TikTok. She is amazing. Get some good climate news. And thank you so much for joining us. Check out the rest of Aspen Digital. Bye.
Thank you to Natalie and Elena for that conversation, and thank you all for tuning in this morning. I hope you've enjoyed our programming, but do not go too far away, because we're coming back. We will be live at 10:30 a.m. Mountain Time with a really good conversation, and a special one that I don't think you're going to want to miss. It's with a journalist I grew up admiring, Katie Couric. She's really trailblazed for women in the industry of media and journalism, and Dan Porterfield, who's Aspen Institute's president and CEO. So do not miss that conversation, and be sure to tune in to all the sessions that catch your eye. If you're trying to remember the timing, you can go back to the website. We have the full schedule listed there, and you can see that schedule by clicking agenda, the agenda button at the top of your screen, or by visiting aspenideas.info/digital, aspenideas.info/digital. You can also follow us on the interwebs everywhere at Aspen Ideas, hashtag Aspen Ideas. I'm at Simply Zinkley. There are so many ats. We operate in that world today. Oh my gosh, I love it. And we look forward to seeing you in 30 minutes. So don't go too far. 30 minutes conversation with Katie Couric and Dan Porterfield. And again, tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. Mountain Time for your morning update. See you then.